Andy today becomes the 18th player in the Open era to win 700 or more singles matches on the HB Tour, and the fourth active player to accomplish the feat. Bill, go ahead, start us off.
Congratulations, Andy. Just on that theme, 700 wins. Sort of to put you on the spot, but in terms of numbers, in your career, what one or two numbers are most satisfying to you?
Well, I mean, probably getting to number one in the world. I mean, just purely in terms of a number, I mean, that would be, well, I mean, a big highlight in my career to get there. And then, yeah, I wouldn't say, like, during my career I was focused necessarily on match win sort of numbers and things like that. However, as I've sort of got older and you're coming towards the end of your career, there's certain like milestones and things that it's like, oh, well, you know, that's something that would be nice to achieve. There's obviously not many players have managed to do that, and obviously with all the difficulties of the last few years and everything, you know, I was on course to get there quite a few years ago, and it's been tough. So yeah, reaching that number is a really good achievement, and you know, it's not been easy getting there. From, you know, Greg was telling me that I got to 600 in Cincinnati in 2016. You know, it's 5.5 years to get the last 100. So it's taken a while, but yeah, like I do look at that stuff now. Like, I do look at the other players that are around me and around those numbers, and you know, it gives me some motivation and encouragement to, you know, to try to, you know, get higher and win more matches.
Right.
And you know, sorry. What does it actually mean to you, that number of 700? Then on court you say, let's go to 800 now. The emotion of something like that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, look, it does mean a lot to me, because I know how difficult it's been, you know, certainly the last few years. And then when you look at the players that have done it, you know, most of the players that are up there and have won that many matches are certainly the best players of the last sort of, you know, 30, 40 years. And yeah, like, to be in amongst that is nice. And you know, like I said, I've looked and I've seen the players that are between 700 and 800, and there's some amazing players that I, you know, watched when I was growing up as a kid, and some that I'm aware are some of the best players that have ever played the game. And like, I know that they probably weren't thinking about when they were playing, but yeah, like, I would love to try and get there. And it, yeah, I guess when you look at a number like that and you see that it's comparable to some of those guys, it makes you feel proud of your achievements and the matches that you've won in your career, and what's been, you know, an incredibly difficult era. So yeah.
Ben?
We get asked all the time, sort of in our job, about greatest of all time debates and what sort of goes into that. You know, it gets kind of simplified in just how many Grand Slams people win, sort of as a top line thing in this era. But what do you sort of take into account of that when you are maybe more from a fan sort of side of the sport, like trying to measure achievement in the sport? What sort of weighting do you put onto various sort of achievements, like 700 wins, like Grand Slams, like Masters titles, weeks at number one, whatever it may be?
Yeah, I mean, people have simplified it, I think, because all of those guys are so close and they've been playing in the same era, and it's like they've all won tons of Masters Series, they've all won tons of matches, they've all been great on every surface. So the easiest way, I think, for people to do it is to just go by the number of slam wins. But then, yeah, when you obviously look back over history, there's, certain players, didn't really play the Australian Open for a period of time, and so and some of them, like a Rod Laver, for example, missed a huge chunk of his career where he's not competing in the majors and things like that. So it's obviously difficult to compare eras exactly, but I think that most people that follow the history of the sport and stuff would probably have the three guys just now, like, right up there at the at the top. And yeah, like I said, because they've all won tons of matches, and I think one of the things that certainly in other sports I've heard people talk about longevity and things like that, but all of those guys also have that as well. So the slams is what it's sort of come down to, but I do think that when you compare other players, careers, maybe there's other numbers to look at as well.
Aki?
Congratulations. So you just said that being number one is the highlight of your career in terms of number. But if you pick one or two turning point or like an important decision making in your career, what it would be?
I didn't hear the last little bit. Sorry.
What is your important like a decision making in your career or turning point?
2012 Wimbledon, probably the period between that and the Olympic Games was really, really important for me. I think, I was chatting just the other day with one of the guys I'm working with about this, and when Roger won his first slam, and he won against Philippoussis in the final, Rafa beat Puerta in the final, and I think Novak beat Tsonga, and none of those guys had won majors before either. So, and when I was competing to win slams, I ended up competing. Obviously, I played Roger a couple of times. I played Novak, and who was on. I didn't maybe know at the time, but it's obviously what he's gone on to achieve. There's obviously really tough finals against guys that had won majors beforehand. And when I lost that Wimbledon final in 2012 against Roger, there was still pressure building, questions getting asked about me and whether I could win a Grand Slam and whether that was possible. And, I was asking myself those questions as well because I was working really hard to try and get there and was not managing to quite get over the line. And yeah, after that match against Roger in the 2012 Wimbledon final, was obviously very upset for a few days after that, and kind of accepted, I guess, that it might not happen. I may not win a major, but what I could control was the effort and everything that I was putting into it and trying to keep going and keep improving, and winning that sort of Olympics 4 weeks later against Roger in the final on the same court in the fashion that I did was a big step for me in my career, I think.
Richard?
Your countryman Cam Norrie said, even more impressive than the number is sort of your attitude, the fight that you've had, considering all you've been through. And I just wondered if you'd talk about that inner fight a little bit.
Yeah, it's obviously been, like I said many times, it's been, it has been a really difficult 4 or 5 years, and even even in the last year or so, when I did come back and start playing in 2019, I was actually playing some quite good tennis. I felt quite good about my game, and got injured again and missed a bunch of time. And then obviously we had COVID, and I had some other niggles and injuries, and it's not really until the last sort of 5-6 months when I've got consistency of getting to compete regularly. And to be honest, I've not been playing well. So there's obviously been like the physical battle, but also a mental battle as well of, you know, trying to find my game and, you know, trying to be patient and, you know, and not get too frustrated and too down on myself, which has been tough these last 4 or 5 months. But yeah, I think like even like today, there was points in the match where I did play pretty well. Like I played some good tennis, but there's also times in the match where, you know, it's poor. And I really need to try and find that consistency, and that's something that's taken a while to come. It's going to take some time on the practice court to work on, and you know, I'm looking forward to doing that with Ivan after Orlando. After the Miami tournament, I'm going to train in Orlando there with him. But yeah, it's been hard. Like the physical battle's been tough, but mentally it's been challenging as well.
Chris?
Andy, just quickly, you seem like you're a perfectionist in a lot of ways in your approach to tennis and your game. Of all the 700 wins, what do you think is the one that was the closest to perfection?
That's a good question. I mean, we get asked about that, like the best matches that you've played, or like how many matches in a year do you feel like you play like great tennis, and there's actually very few. Like, you know, if like in my best years when I was playing 70, 80 matches a year, it was probably 4 or 5 matches where, you know, you felt great and played like really good tennis. But probably, I mean, the final of the Olympics in 2012 for me was probably one of the best matches that I played in terms of like the occasion and everything. I thought that would probably be the one I would pick as my sort of best my best performance. But there's like other ones that, like, you know, they like, to everyone in here, it might not seem like a big deal, but I remember I played like Jarkko Nieminen in Canada when I was young. It was like 2007 maybe, something like that, and I thought I played a brilliant match. It was like in the second round, and yeah, just some matches like that where everything clicks and everything's perfect. Yeah.
Get our last question from Tom.
Andy, I don't know the ages of your kids, but you know, you're different than most of the fathers that their friends would have at school. How much of an appreciation do they have that maybe you're a little bit different or better known by a lot of people outside, you know, in the world?
I think they're aware. My eldest one is aware now. She's 6, and yeah, she knows that I'm. Yeah, like sometimes she calls me Andy Murray, which I find incredibly awkward. And I'm like, no, like I'm Daddy. Like I'm not Andy Murray. I'm Daddy. And she now does it to wind me up because she knows it doesn't like it, especially when she's around her friends and stuff. So yeah, like there's an awareness there. I mean, they're not bothered by that or whatever. And sometimes, yeah, I feel a bit uncomfortable as well. Like if I'm with them and someone asks for a photograph or a picture or whatever, like when I'm with them, because I don't know, it makes them feel uncomfortable a little bit. But yeah, they're not bothered by it. To be honest, I don't think they're that aware.
All right. Thanks, Andy. We have Halep coming in right now.